Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Coaching Workshop. We've got Matt Fever back with us in part two. We're going to talk about client acquisition. Last time we chatted, we stopped at the sort of talking about how you bring clients in for ideally, it sounds like one session, and then sort of preferentially nudge them towards online coaching. But if you have the space available, then you'll move them over to an in-person slot. So that kind of leads us into talking about what I hear second most common question from coaches, which is, how do I get more clients? You have, it sounds like, a amazing resource in that you're part of a large gym with a sales team and a large physical presence for over 4,000 members. So you've got a lot of foot traffic coming through and people that are kind of teeing you up to at least talk to people. Do you, outside of the sales machinery of the gym, have social media or any kind of marketing presence, or do you go 100% through your gym?
It's mainly through the gym. I have social media. I don't post a whole lot of content. That's maybe something that I should be doing more of, and it's something that I'm always reviewing. But on the most part, I get a great number of referrals from the sales team at the gym. Equally, I'm on the gym floor maybe about six or 7 hours a day. So that's a great opportunity for me to showcase my coaching around the people that are just using the facility. And
you lift in the same gym as well?
I lift in the same gym, and that's probably how I get most of my clients, actually.
You've got some impressive numbers as well. I imagine there's not too many people that are lifting more than you at the gym.
Not in our in our gym. It's that is probably a big selling point for me, in that I get to coach in the gym. People see what I'm doing. They also see me training, and I try and talk to everybody on the gym floor. I try and get to know everybody's name, find out a little bit about what they're doing in between, waiting for clients or in between sets. I try and be as approachable as possible on the gym floor. So, most of my business is collected through just being around the place, and talking to people. I also offer workshops. This is something that I've been doing recently over the last year or so. So I rent space in different gyms. Maybe it's a small studio that has some downtime in their facility. And I'll say, look, I'd like to put on like a 2-hour workshop at your gym. And I can bring people in from all over. And we'll just go through some of the basics. We might do a couple hours on the squat or the press or the deadlift, and it's an opportunity for people to drop in, ask questions, get some coaching, find out a little bit about me and kind of what the services that I offer. But it's very informal. You come along, you'll get some pointers. I'll help you with your programming a little bit, and then if you want to book in either in person or join us online, there's the opportunity to do that.
Very common theme that I'm hearing from coaches that aren't struggling with getting more clients is that they are very active in their community, either physical presence on the gym floor, like you're talking about, events, taking advantage of opportunities to talk to people and interact with potential clients, not necessarily to do a hard sale, but to add value. I think, as Anthony Deal put it, just to have a conversation, try to add value, make a connection, and let that sort of organically translate into opportunities that are where people could benefit from your services.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't necessarily moved to a subscription model just yet, because I think in our gym, especially the part of the UK where I live, I think for a number of people, if we were to hit them with a big monthly subscription payment, I don't think I'd be in the position I am now. Whereas just to leave the door open a little bit and say, look, come along, maybe do a short course. I like to get people signed up for at least like 5 sessions. That's enough time. I can spend, a session on each of the main lifts. And by that time, you've kind of normally built some trust. You've built a connection with them. They've seen how, they've seen the value in your service.
Does that influence, we talked about in the previous call that you were thinking about trying a new space, a different model, does that factor into whether how you consider or decide whether to make that move, that you'd be kind of you'd have to take that over, right, if you were managing it on your own?
Yep. I mean, that's everything I've had to do over the years has had to be keeping overheads as low as possible. That's been the hardest grind for me as a coach, is just trying to keep things low. And,
Right.
Like I said, I have an opportunity that's presented itself just recently to take on a gym space, but it's where I am works really well. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
great deal. If something breaks, they have a service team that can come in and repair it. If there's a leak at the gym, that's not on me. If the gym closes, I don't have to pay them rent while they're closed. It's all that kind of thing. So it's you have to weigh up the pros and cons.
Yeah, it's somewhat similar to the benefit of working with Barbell Logic as well, that they, you're effectively paying rent, you could call it, or, some sort of a cut of what the client is paying, but Barbell Logic takes over a lot of the overhead of client acquisition in some cases, although you're referring a lot of them. But all the customer onboarding, customer service, it's essentially you get to outsource a lot of the overhead and
Yep.
prioritize just coaching. It sounds like you've worked that out really well for both your online and your in-person coaching.
Yeah, and then with the in-person coaching, I guess one of the things I'm trying to at the moment is to encourage people to see it as not a second-rate option because our schedules don't match or because I'm trying to scale my business. It's actually solving a lot of the problems that I have as an in-person coach. And in a number of ways, I say to them, it's an upgrade to subscribe to online coaching. One of the issues I have for clients that train once per week is that starts off great when the programming is simple. So if you train on Monday and we're doing a linear progression, you're going to do a similar sequence on Wednesday and a similar sequence on Friday. So the exercises are very much the same. I can program that in knowing that you're going to be okay. And then as they advance into intermediate and advanced programming, well, now they're doing different lifts on different days. And I'd quite like to see what's happening with that. So again, with TKC, a great opportunity is to say, look, can you shoot me a video of these things that you're doing whilst you're working independently? Then I can give them some feedback. And before you know it, we're kind of starting to whet their appetite for online coaching. And it solves a number of problems for me as a coach, because if I only see you on a Monday, I can only coach what we do on a Monday. I can't coach the rest of the program. So it solves a number of problems from a coaching perspective.
I think you've echoed almost identically what Jordan Stanton said as well. And it's been interesting over the last decade where when we first started doing this, online coaching was almost like a dirty word. It was, ooh, you're not a real coach. People actually made T-shirts almost making fun of us. And now, after we've refined it over the years, I think most of us believe it's genuinely a better value service. Um, are there things that you can do better in person? Absolutely. There's a lot of small things that you can fix pretty quickly in person, but on the whole, over a long period of time, I think you hit the nail on the head that you can actually offer more value to the client while also solving, like you said, a lot of problems for you as a coach,
Yeah.
and kind of meet in this sweet spot of cost in terms of your time and price for the client, where they're getting pretty much as close as you can get to personal training without having to pay that kind of rate, because you don't have to actually be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah. What's helping me a little is having a number of clients on the gym floor that are doing the online program. So, you could come to the gym and I could be working with you
Got some
one-on-one
social
in
proof.
person, but there might be 6 or 7 other clients on the gym floor that are all working through the program, videoing their lifts, and, they see me interacting with them. And my guys have it good really because they get online coaching, but I'm at the gym.
Right.
So they
They
also
see
get,
you sometimes.
if there's a problem, it's like, Matt, can you take a look at my deadlift? Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at your deadlift. So,
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
the best of both. And I think it's a great setup, And as they see more and more people moving over, It's like, actually, this could be a more affordable option, and this could, actually work better if if you need coaching for those other components of the program that your coach doesn't get to see on the day.
So I think we're going to get to one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on the call here is that a lot of the time, a lot of the coaches I talk to say that they're running into challenges selling clients on the idea of transitioning from online to in person. If they get somebody from the beginning that's online, it's a pretty easy sell. But sometimes when the bulk of your clients find you and look for you and start working with you because they get to be with you in person, that can sometimes be a little bit hard to move people off of that as their idea of what the service should be. So I'm curious what challenges you've encountered and overcome that have worked well in moving people from the in-person coaching to online coaching model.
Yeah, so one of the barriers I have with a number of my clients is this problem of videoing themselves in a commercial gym. That's a bit of a barrier to a number of people. They don't like the idea of doing that. I guess a number of the Barbell Logic clients, they're often working in their home private gym, so that can be a challenge. But yeah, as I say, really, it's what I found as a coach is it was becoming less and less about what we do on the day and more about management of the program across the week. So I know, I have clients that see me for every single one of their sessions. That's actually quite rare, I think, in my gym for someone to train, with a coach 4 times a week. As I say, the more common thing is, they might train once or twice a week, which often still leaves some stuff that they need to do independently. And that's really one of the things that I pick up on. I'm saying, look, you're going to have to do half of the program by yourself anyway. So it's not like you need me there for, those sessions. Why not try and do the whole thing by yourself? And it's also, I think, engages them in the learning process. If they have to take that feedback that's been given to them by their coach, think about it for themselves. I often see the guys that are on the online program, they've videoed their lift. Then they're looking at it themselves. They're breaking it down themselves. Then they upload it. Then they get the 24-hour feedback from me as a coach, giving commentary on it. And I think that whole system of learning, again, only enhances the experience. So I try and sell it on that too. It's not just about saving money. It's about you're going to be actively involved in this. You're not just going to be relying on me telling you what to do. The other thing I found is that TKC, for all of its amazing features, can actually leave you sometimes feeling a little bit redundant as a coach. Because if you program the workout in, especially if you've been working with somebody for a long time, you program the workout in, that gets sent to the client in the morning. You show up at the gym. I think for a lot of coaches on the gym floor, the client arrives. They don't really know what they're doing. They're waiting for the client, the coach, to tell them, this is what we're doing today. This is what you did last time. This is your PR. We're empowering the client with all of that information, which I think is great, because it's not just us telling them what to do. They're kind of involved in the whole process a lot more. So there's some of the things that I use to try and sell the online coaching.
How have you overcome the videoing? I've definitely heard that a lot. I've experienced it with talking to clients directly, and it's one of those interesting aspects of training over the last 10 years that I just totally lost sight of the fact that that's abnormal for most people. I've been filming my every single lift for my, not even before I had a coach, I was just doing it for social media. I just started doing that as a way of staying connected with other friends and now clients so they can see my training. So I don't even think twice about it. But for the average normal person, that is a
It's still a
friction point that
problem.
I hear.
Yeah,
So
it's still a problem.
how do you get over that?
Our gym is busy, and I just hope that it doesn't ever cause any problems, because that could be the kind of thing that would really, mess up my whole system if, people feel uncomfortable being in the background and things like that. So I show them the best way to do it, the best places to do it, and how discreetly you can do it. We don't use tripods or anything. We just, maybe, pop it up on a box or a bench or something next to your water bottle, and flick it to selfie mode and do it in a very discreet way. And
Mm.
I try and show clients how easy that is. It helps that they see other people doing it, as I say. But it's still a challenge for some people, which
That is,
I
that's a
understand.
really interesting idea to not use a tripod because that is the stereotypical, uh, you know, annoying person at the gym is the
Yep.
tripod like halfway across the gym, getting
Yep.
everybody else training and then complaining if somebody walks in front of the camera
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a gym full of like a sea of tripods. But if you
If
just,
anything, I would discourage that in my gym for those reasons because
yeah,
I don't want to draw too much attention to it. I
right,
want it to be something that's done very discreetly,
right.
so that the other members that aren't part of our community don't feel uncomfortable. You know, because
That's
as soon as
great
someone feels
advice.
uncomfortable as soon as there's a complaint, the whole thing is
Hmm.
in trouble. So, we do it in a very discreet way. I try and show people, like, this is where I want you to video from. Do it from this corner, do it from this angle. You know, just to make that as easy as possible.
So it sounds like it kind of actually reminds me of how a lot of CrossFit gyms, when as CrossFit was sort of tapering off or leveling out, and barbell training was barbell clubs or barbell section of a CrossFit gym was becoming more popular. Uh, Kind of had some similarities where people would show up for the CrossFit class or wanting to be part of that group, and the barbell club would kind of be in the side or different room, but people would see it and be kind of curious, what's going on over there? What are these people are doing? And seeing, 60-year-old women doing chin-ups for reps or, a 40-year-old dad deadlifting 500, 600 pounds. And you kind of siphon people in, suck them into that world. And you've kind of started to build a culture essentially of that type of service being normal, even within an environment that doesn't typically have a lot of strength training
Yep.
or any online coaching. And so now you've created normalcy around it. You have social proof of other people doing it. And that smooths out the sales process where it's not you having to convince people that it's going to be good for them. They get to see other people who are voluntarily just, you know, showcasing what it
Yep.
looks like and what it has done for them.
And we are kind of a club within a club, really, in terms of
Yeah.
my group of people that are barbell training. And the nice thing about it is that club is so diverse. So this morning I worked with a 70-year-old grandmother, and then my next client might be a 40-year-old dad, and we have such a range of people. I have a 17-year-old kid who's a tennis player. His dad pays for the coaching, so it's a very diverse range of people, and I think that showcases the suitability of what we do and how it can benefit lots of different people, not just your typical guy who's looking to get strong and jacked.
That seems like another maybe not obvious benefit of being in the environment that you're at with a general fitness club. You're going to have all walks of life coming in there, people that think they should be working out, but they don't know exactly what to do. They sign up, they get the
Yep.
membership, and sort of now you've got 4,000 people of that total range of diversity that you're talking about walking
Yep.
by. And it's not just people looking to come to a black iron gym or a barbell gym.
Yeah, but that's the other reason why I haven't gone down the subscription route as yet. Like I said, it's something that I'm gonna review. But most of my client roster is based up of it's based on with people that never in their wildest dreams thought they were going to be doing heavy deadlifts and chin ups and bench presses. These are people that just wanted to get a little bit stronger, like the idea of learning a little bit about resistance training because they read somewhere that it was good for them and great for their bone density, etc. And over a period of time, I've been able to get them comfortable enough in the gym, which is very accommodating to everybody, with the type of stuff that we do. And, they've become the perfect role model, perfect advert for my services.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does defy the, maybe what I would say the most common approach that I would say coaches that run a gym, and maybe that's the difference, is that because you're doing it within the footprint, renting space essentially, you don't have to worry so much about having each hour optimized. Obviously, you want to fill your time, but if you don't fill the time, then you don't have to be there either.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
And that's
there's,
served me well, actually, with a young family over the last, over the last few years, having that kind of flexibility
Mhm.
to not be committed to a monthly subscription, X amount of
Yep.
sessions per month. That's been really useful for me as a young father. It's been invaluable, really, to be able to still operate with that kind of system.
Yeah, interesting. Um, any other things, any nuggets you've picked up on, when you're having that day one conversation that you plant the seed, or are there things that you embed in that first few sessions that kind of subconsciously make the online coaching transition easier? Like, do you have them videoing even if they're with you? Do you have them record their lifts and upload it to just make
Yeah,
that kind
that's
of a
something.
normal
Yeah, that's something
process?
I've started to do, actually, because I've seen the value in, as I say, having them watch themselves on the screen and be able to point out certain features of the lift. I've been actually using that a lot more with my in-person coaching. So it's like, okay, we're about to do a squat. Let's set up the camera. We'll get a video of it. Then we can break it down during the rest period. And
Hmm.
I guess that's maybe a stepping stone towards having them be comfortable being filmed, and then maybe starting to do that themselves when they come in and work by themselves. And then it just makes for an easier transition to uploading it to TKC and then having some feedback on it and that way. And I've also had people just trial it for a week, because I think before I signed up with Matt Reynolds, I didn't know much about what Barbellology did and how it was going to work in practice, and is it going to work for me? And I had my own. I think I was one of those people that probably didn't want a video of myself,
Hmm.
in the gym. But I think because I saw such tremendous benefit from my own personal training, it kind of spilled over to the work I do with my clients.
Awesome, man. Some excellent nuggets from that conversation. I think you've really actually changed the way I thought about a few things. I thought that I had a pretty clear picture of kind of the way to do it, but I think you've solved some really interesting overhead problems, and you're gonna have to think carefully about that opening up your own gym space, because I think you've got a pretty sweet deal going on.
I really do. The only thing that it's a vulnerable situation, because they're a
True,
big,
that's true.
big, big chain of gyms. They could pull the plug on it. And I think my contract doesn't really give me too much notice. But it's okay, because over the last 5 years, I think there's been so many independent gyms that have opened up, and they all have downtime during the day, which is predominantly when I operate. So I tend to go in at 8 o'clock, and I'll work through maybe till like 3, 4 o'clock. They tend to be the times when I do my in-person coaching. So if I needed to move it to a different location, I'm sure if I said to a local studio, local gym, would like to bring myself and my clients to your facility, I think that would be kind of an attractive offer to have our group in, merge with them.
This might seem like a real obvious point, but I never really concretely thought that building an online coaching relationship also makes you much more resilient to that type of situation. If your
Oh,
gym
absolutely,
pulls the
yeah,
plug,
yep,
you can maintain, they might for a week or two, maybe everybody's having to figure out their own place to lift. But while you set up something more permanent, but you could maintain continuity of the relationship regardless of whether you're even at that original gym or not.
the thing that's been great for me is I've had a few clients. I mean, our gym isn't perfect by any means. As I said, it really needs a big upgrade. It lacks a lot of basic equipment sometimes. And I've had some clients just say, "Look, Matt, I love being coached by you, but I'm out. I'm going to go to a different gym." There's
Hmm.
so many gyms in our city,
Sure.
So they leave, but it doesn't have to be goodbye. It's like, well,
Right.
you go to that gym and we'll switch to online coaching. And I've done that with a few clients. So where that would have been the end of the road, if you're no longer at the gym, I can't coach you. It's given me an excellent option to say, look, you carry on doing what you're doing. You do it in your facility, and we'll just switch it up.
Awesome. Thank you again, Matt. It's been great to hear your story, more about your approach. Where can people find you if they want to connect or learn more about Matt Fever?
Yeah, you'll find me on social media under Matt Fever Strength Coach or mattfever.com.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, and good luck.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me.